Um, Hello, everyone. Today I'm here with David Cates, and yeah, it's just my window is mirroring. It's one of the wisest men alive I know on this planet, and not only intellectually amazing, but in this deep embodied wisdom where your animal really feels seen, and it gives this amazing presence and safety where I really feel that it's okay to be me when I'm next to David.
Mm.
It really helps me to ease off the human suffering. And for the requests of some of my listeners, David has deep roots in tantric wisdom, in human psychology, and animal behavior, also community building. And on the topic that we're here today, one of the best specialists to talk about healing and balancing trauma. Hello, David, and welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to see you again. And I don't know how I can live up to that introduction, but we can talk about trauma.
I really want to make this, emphasis so that it would be compelling to listen to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have invited David because I'm sitting here in Moscow in a very critical timing. My we're here, we're laughing, but we're here to talk on a heavy topic. If I'm being blunt, I'm seeing like my brother is raping my sister, and I cannot do anything about it because the situation is like this that I'll go to prison right now. And I imagine that I'm not alone and a ton of conflicting feelings. Can I live on my life? Do I drown in shame? Do I sit in shock? Um, do I rage? All of those feelings really bubbling in me and in us here.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
What can we do? Have you got any
Mm-hmm.
ideas?
Well, I think you just named the first thing to do is to become present with what we're actually feeling, what's bubbling up inside of us, the whole spectrum of emotion, from like the hopelessness and the horror of that you described of watching the war and watching its impact on people you love, and the sadness and the grief and the anger and the rage. All of these emotions, I think, are important, and they're important because if we don't allow ourselves to feel them, then we're going to be incapacitated, impotent, unable to be useful or to take any action. When I stuff my emotions, then I sort of like close my world in, and ultimately it becomes kind of selfish. Like all I can really think about is me, my feelings and all that. But when I express my emotions and bring them out and share them, then suddenly I'm in connection and relationship with the world again, and I can do more than simply or witness. I can become involved, like you're becoming involved by making this podcast, by inviting me to come and speak and share with your friends and your community.
Thank you for coming. And actually, you are touching upon an important topic for us. Is like for a lot of people, I cannot watch anyone use, and I need to
Mhm.
take care of me because it, turns me into a puddle that can't be functional
Mhm.
in the world. How
Mhm.
do we find this balance of being still human and feeling and still being functional in the world too?
That's a great question, because I know, like, you have children and you have a husband, for all of them, and to help each other through this process, the impact of the war that's happening. So I believe that the emotions that are being triggered, one of what interested me about your invitation was to talk about how can we deal with ongoing trauma, with trauma that is still alive and happening and triggering us in the moment, in the day by day, hour by hour. If you're watching the news minute by minute, it can get like that. And you and I know each other from a slightly different context, where we were making dedicated time for people to catch up with themselves from traumatic events in the past. So where we were meeting, there were not missiles flying by or bullets. We were in a safe and peaceful place, and there were exercises and practices and connections that we could do that could help us catch up. And it's a different situation, a different scenario when you're in the middle of trigger happening all the time. And so I would like to spend some of our time today talking about what can we do to reset the nervous system? What can we do to, I like the example or the image of reboot the computer. So we take a moment to turn it off and let things settle down and then come up again. And this allows us to catch up with ourselves. It allows our body to process the tension and anxiety that's alive in all the muscles and cells and hormones, and help to reset it so that we can, I say, become present again to the whole reality that's in front of us. Because one of the hallmarks of trauma is we become focused or obsessed on a very small contracted portion, which is the threat or the danger. And so you might be in a room and hear the planes go by, and 100% of your attention will go to the danger, whereas there are also other people in the room with you who, like, some of your attention could go to each other also, to help to comfort and soothe and or run or whatever needs to happen to keep yourself safe.
Yes, and there is, I don't know, I would love for this conversation to reach people who are in immediate danger or whose lives are changed irreversibly. And at the same time, I understand that most likely a lot of them would be in this kind of situation that I'm in, like my friends live in country, losing jobs, changing jobs. So it's not exactly this immediate danger,
Mm-hmm.
but it's stressful. So it's taking us to this stressful response. Maybe before we continue with the conversation, we can just show how it is, because what I love about you, David, is that you just show and give this palpable experience instead of talking about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, I would love to do that. And I want to address your, it wasn't a reframe exactly, but a refinement of the conversation to the people that are in your community may not be in immediate physical danger, that the bombs aren't dropping on them, but they're in a stressful life situation. They're in an environment where everything is uncertain and unstable, and there's no, I remember Igor wrote something, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but if you wrote it, it could be public, that, the Kremlin has the ability to click a button and turn the internet off in Russia. And so if the internet is your means of livelihood or your only means of connecting with friends who are in other places, that's like an ongoing horrifying stress to be holding in your body, to feel the real possibility that in any moment, like all the lights could go off, all the wires could be cut, all the ways that you take care of yourself and stay connected could be removed. So let's move the conversation more in the direction of what do you do when there's ongoing stress, ongoing uncertainty, and like larger things in the environment that you have no control over, but which immediately and powerfully impact your own survival. So we can, that's, I'm just helping myself by saying this, helping myself sort of reframe this now to talk about that kind of ongoing stress and how we can work with that to reset.
Yeah. There's also, maybe if it helps you to understand our situation, there is a huge guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And this hopelessness and helplessness. Oh, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the threat of me holding those world centric thoughts in my head are kind of threatening. And
Mm-hmm. So
somebody to be hunted, sort of.
yeah, I resonate with that, like personally. I'm sure not to the intensity that you do with the guilt and the shame and the what do you do, but it's like an ongoing question in my life too. Like all these horrors are happening around the world. You're in your neighborhood, it's a war. In other neighborhoods, it's fires and droughts and floods and people being like refugees. So it is an ongoing question of how can I participate in the world without being overwhelmed by the hugeness of the problem and the relative powerlessness of me to make any important influence on it. So this is alive in my heart too, which was like a big, like sparked when you made the invitation. It was like, oh yes, this is something I can do. I can't get on a plane and fly to Moscow right now, but I can do this. So thank you for you being centered and connected enough to think of reaching out to me and to allow that channel to open up so that we both could momentarily create something, that put our attention on something that might help or might make a difference in some people's lives. So we're it's happening. As Booster says, it's happening right now. So let's create a little experience right now. I would like to frame it very briefly. In neurobiological terms, what we're doing is working directly with the nervous system through the body and the breath. So we use the body and touch and breath in order to make a change in the nervous system, like how the electrical signals are firing and how the hormones are being released that lead us into more stress and anxiety, or that lead us into peacefulness and calmness and clarity. And it really is the way the nervous system works. It's kind of either or. Either we're in the fight, flight, freeze trauma response, or we're in it's safe to to start again and rest and digest. So I wanted to be clear that There's two branches of the nervous system. And what we're doing in this exercise is helping the body shift from one to the other. So it seems like we're not doing very much by taking a breath and paying attention to the breath, or by moving our hands to different parts of our body. But I want to assure you from decades of clinical experience that it makes a big difference. And as we go through some of these exercises in this conversation, I hope that everyone will be able to experience at least a glimpse of the possibility of what happens when you shift from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic nervous system. So, blah, 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 blah. Ready? So I invite you, if it's possible in the situation that you're in right now, to just close your eyes for a moment, because the bulk of what we're doing right now, the activity, is happening inside our body. So if it's possible to reduce the signals from the outside, from your eyes, that will help a lot. So we begin by just taking your two hands and placing them on your chest. And this is in the animal body behavior, we say this is soothing the beast. This is calming and giving a root, a connection for the body to feel I'm not alone. Someone's paying attention to me. Sometimes it's another person, sometimes it's myself, but someone's paying attention to me. So as we're holding our hands on our chest, take a deep breath in and just notice where the breath goes, how full your lungs get. And then breathe it out. And then you might want to make some little micro movements, little adjustments. As you notice, as we bring attention to our body, we can notice, oh, my shoulder's tight, or, oh, I feel that in my rib cage here. So I want to give a little bit more relaxation and space for the next breath to come in a little deeper and a little bit fuller. And again, deep breath in and out. In and out. And in this moment, as we begin to slow our breathing down and bring our full attention to our bodies, I invite you to notice the sensations where your hands are touching your chest. And some of the sensations that you might notice could include warmth, could include weight or pressure. It might include texture, like I'm noticing my fingers are feeling the fabric of my shirt. I'm noticing my chest is responding to the warmth under my hands, contrasted to the coolness where my hands are not touching. And I can willfully increase the pressure of my hands on my chest so that I feel like a weighted blanket or an embrace. It's just like, a little bit deeper, holding myself a little bit more strongly. Now we're going to take another breath into our chest and feel the hands move, rise and fall as the rib cage opens and expands. Goes in and out, up and down. And we just notice that the mind may think, oh, my hands are on my chest. But the body notices it's not just one solid thing that's happening. There are many, many ever changing sensations. Each fingertip is having its own different experience. The fingertips that touch my shirt are having a different experience than the fingertips that are touching my other hand. So we breathe into the sensitivity and the nuances of what's happening in this simple experience of my hands are resting on my chest. And I am taking another deep breath and really letting my lungs feel, it's okay to open a little bit more. It's okay to go a little bit slower and deeper. It's okay for the muscles in my shoulders to relax just a little bit more. One more deep breath. And an exhale. And one last element to this I'd like to add. You remember, Katya, from our practices, what might happen if we add sound on the exhale? What might happen if I take a deep breath in and let go with a little bit of sound? And at first, it might be a little embarrassing or awkward, but I invite you to do it again. Take another deep breath in. Make a little bit more sound on the exhale. Oh. And one more time, and this time, as you make sound on the exhale, I invite you to notice the vibration in your fingertips as your voice moves through your torso. Ready? Deep breath in and out with a sound. Oh. So, this is one of those secret practices with pranayama breath where we're bringing breath in, and on the exhale, we're letting the sound massage our body from the inside, like a vibrating, like a vibrator, just moving through the bones, the muscles, the lung tissue, the heart, the spine. Let's try it one more time and see if you can feel the vibration in any of those places. Beautiful. Now just take 3 deep breaths on your own and play with whatever elements of this practice you're intrigued by. Moving your hands, your shoulders, taking shallower breaths or deeper breaths, making sound or not making sound, just playing with 3 deep breaths. Yeah. So I'm tempted to pause here and just allow yourself to continue breathing slowly and deeply if you like, if this feels refreshing to you or soothing. And Katya, I want to invite you back to our conversation and uh, share maybe what you noticed as we were doing this exercise, just to help give words to what some people might be experiencing but not yet able to name.
When I put my hands on the chest, there are waves of warmth sort of going through me that is relaxing and also reassuring with this neutral touch, like someone's here.
Mm-hmm.
And breathing with sound really helps me feel more of myself from inside out. And you can notice that right now my voice is deeper and I'm speaking much slower. So I'm more composed and I'm not in a rush.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there is some movement coming after so that, yeah, from this calmness comes aliveness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. While there's still um, the afterglow of warmth in our chest, I would like to do a little bit to deepen the practice a little bit more. This might be a place, I just want to take note, like this might be a place where you could cut the video and just make that a piece that happens that stands on its own. And then this could be a longer piece, because I think just the hands on the heart is a great introduction to people to turn their attention away from the external stresses and threats and back into being in my body in the moment. And in this moment, what's actually real, what's happening right now. So invite you put your hands on your chest again and just take 3 more deep breaths and maybe be a little bit bolder with sound on the exhale, because there's a lot of things in there that really haven't been massaged for a while, and they would love to feel the vibration. And I love to say that your body misses you. Like when I'm not present with my body, it misses me. And I have a dog, and I noticed that the dog misses me too. I can be sitting right there, but not paying attention to him. And when I go and put my hand on him, suddenly something happens. And when I use my voice, there's another level of connection and calming that happens. So to kind of change the metaphor around, it's like my body is like an animal. My body is an animal body, and my body misses my attention and my presence and my touch. And when I bring it, hands are a beautiful way to bring feeling, emotion, soothing and calm and presence. And also the voice. I have come to believe the voice is a huge, huge key, that like when I'm touching my body, the muscles and the bones are feeling my presence. But when I'm using my voice and those vibrations go down into my lungs and my muscle tissue and vibrate in my hollow bones, then something else happens. The cells can feel the vibration of me, and they're like, oh, he's home. He's back. like he's here with us. And that's part of something that can happen for the body to relax a bit, because it's not um, trying to handle the stress all on its own. It's not trying to take care of me. And I noticed this with the dog too. It's like if I'm not paying attention and we're out walking, the dog feels like he needs to be uh, protecting and guiding and leading us. And it's kind of overwhelming sometimes. But when he feels that I'm right here and he's with me, he's just walking alongside of me, there's a whole different experience that he has of safety and calm and connection, and everything's right. The alpha is here and we're okay. The leader of the pack is paying attention to what's going on, and I'm waiting for the signal for you. What should I do next? And there's just the relaxation. And that's how one of the ways that I think about my body is it's an animal that needs reassurance and presence. So we did that with the lungs. So let's take the 3 deep breaths, and then we're going to move a little deeper. Deep breath with the sound. Oh. I heard you that time again. Oh. One more time. I'm home. And now I invite you, take those same hands and just slide them slowly down onto your belly. So just below your rib cage, hold your belly so your navel, your belly button is kind of like in the center of where your hands are. And just imagine for a moment that there's, well, perhaps easier for you to imagine that there's a baby in there. And you just want to reassure what's happening in your belly that you're here. Like, I want you to feel me. And for those of us who haven't had the pregnancy experience, there's a lot of organs in there: liver, spleen, gallbladder, intestines, stomach, that all are missing us too, that have been lonely, trying to keep up with the flood of anxiety hormones and adrenaline that are rushing through our body from all this stress. So just for a moment, I'm going to bring my presence to my abdomen, to my torso, to those organs inside my body, to that imaginary child that's inside me, my inner child. And using my hands to create a bit of an embrace, a bit of pressure, a bit of holding, a bit of, yeah, you know, I'm here. I'm right here with you. Not going anywhere. And then try a deep breath that goes past the lungs, where the diaphragm drops down lower. The belly expands with the in-breath. So we're bringing the breath down through the lungs. We're opening up the bottom of the lungs, dropping the diaphragm, letting all the stomach and organs relax to make more space for the lungs to expand more and bring in more warmth and more oxygen. So just playing for a moment, for a few breaths, with the sensations of your hands on your belly, noticing the movement as you bring the breath in deeper and your abdomen expands. Your hands are sort of like pushed out further. And then with the exhale, you can use your hands to push in a bit. So we're giving a little bit of a rocking massage to the inner organs. With the in breath, we let the hands relax and move outward, forward. With the out breath, we gently like push in a bit. I'm here. I'm feeling you. Deep breath in and exhale. And by now, you might be noticing some of the other sensations that are happening in your belly region as you breathe deeply. You may notice the warmth where your hands are touching your body. You may notice again the texture of skin or fabric. You may feel the muscles expanding and contracting in your hands, your fingers, your wrists, your elbows even. And the muscles in your abdomen. All the abdominal muscles opening and closing, the diaphragm moving up and down, and all the organs getting this simple, beautiful massage. They're just sliding around in their slippery homes, making space in new ways. And as more breath comes into your lungs, more oxygen is flowing through your bloodstream and enlivening all these organs and carrying away all the toxins, all the old adrenaline that's not needed in this moment, all the waste products that you've been holding on to while you're stressed. So we take a moment with this breath to rest and digest, to let everything do its function, its job, with our permission, our honoring, our blessing. Thank you for holding it together while I was up in my head worried about the situations out there. And now I'm together with you for the situations in here. And this we can do something about. This inner world of my body, I have so much power with. I might not be able to impact the global economy, but I can bring more oxygen into my liver and my intestines. I can bring more feeling of safety, feeling of connection. And I just want to say in this moment, as you continue breathing, as deeply and slowly as is enjoyable, that we're not ignoring or avoiding any of the things out there. We're not denying that they exist. We're not denying that they impact us. But right now, I go back to the computer analogy. It's like while I'm stressed, I have 600 tabs open on my desktop of all the things that need to be worried about and attended to and thought about and figured out, and logistics, all these things, and the emotional well-being and safety of the people I love, and maybe even the physical safety of the people I love. So we're not denying the reality of any of that. All those 600 tabs that are open on our desktop. We're just going to very slowly and gently reboot the computer. We're going to take a moment to power down, to let the breath return us to this moment, this room, this body, right now at this exact second. And so when the computer opens again, when my mind opens again, when my heart opens again, when I bring attention and respect back, there's clarity. What's important right now in this moment? What's the most important thing I can do or plan or talk about? So there's space to make priorities so we can take action in the world rather than being overwhelmed and stressed out and too many things are happening and we can't keep up. So this is just a practice to give us the tools to slow things down and reboot just for a moment. And then we come back into our outer world, refreshed, calm, centered, clear, and able to see what's important and what can we take action on. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to stress that this is, and we go inward in order to come outward again. I know sometimes in stressful situations, I want to shut out the world and space out or watch TikTok or get high or something to just like make it stop. And what we're doing in these practices is we let the world continue, we let it have its rhythms and patterns, and bring attention to the inside to clear up what we can clear up inside. So there's action that's happening. We're breathing and moving and connecting inside. We're not just avoiding or ignoring. And as we do these things, then we tap into the power to come out into the world and be strong again, be clear again. And then we just go back and forth. And this can be a rhythm of practice that you do as often as you need to, once an hour, once a day, in the morning, in the evening. You could say it's kind of a meditation, but it's not like to space out or avoid the world. It's to make myself more able to be more fully in the world.
So I'm noticing right now that I can take it in like small doses the whole day. And I can just remind myself of 3 breaths here in the chest. I can make it longer and take it into the abdomen and go deeper into the pelvic floor and Or I can just take 3 short breaths and then. While you were speaking about coming in and out with the world, a question was, ripening in my head. It's okay, now when I'm alone with my eyes closed and the soothing voice of David Cates is here with me, that's one thing. And then I want to come out into the world and there are people and a lot of emotions are coming up right now, a lot of arguments and disagreements. Brings up bitterness, edginess, and this, desire to be right and make you understand. How do I make people understand me?
Not with your mind and not with your words. You help people understand you when you invite them into your heart, when you invite them into your experience. Not when you talk about their experience or what they should be doing or what they should be thinking or how it would be better if they did this, but just invite them into you. And from there, connection happens, and there's the possibility of curiosity. If I'm full of all this and I come to you and you're full of all that, then all we have is like, yeah, and nothing can really connect. But if I'm full of all this and you're calm and centered and clear, then despite myself, your experience seems better and better than mine. It's like, oh, I want what she has. That looks way nicer. So that won't happen, or it probably won't happen on the mental level. Like I won't have that thought, oh, I want what she has. But my animal body is going to be responding to your animal body. And because we are social animals in the pack, I want to be closer to your safety, your calm, your clarity. Like that becomes the most compelling vibration in the room.
Yum. Yeah, that feels like a vortex, really, kind of
Yep.
sipping in with the depth of the voice, with the depth of the breath, with those pauses. So I go into a state myself. So just the only thing I can influence in the world
Totally. Yes. Yes.
is me breathing and my spleen having some oxygen.
Yep. And we think that's not enough. But my experience is the deeper I go into myself and the more I can stay deeply present in myself, the more compelling it becomes for everyone around me. Like people they're drawn. It's a magnetic attraction to, just like if you were out in a rainstorm and you saw a door that was open and there was a warm room in there with a fire, your body would just want to go into that room and get out of the rain and the cold. It's an instinct. And so when I'm breathing, I start and I learn I'm breathing for me and for my body to feel my presence. And if I keep breathing deeper, then the other bodies in the room, will start responding to the vibration and the tone and the simplicity also. So there's impact that happens, and it will often be unconscious to everyone else until suddenly somebody will go, what the heck? What's happening here? Like, I'm supposed to be upset at you.
So it feels like you're moving the underwater currents.
Yes. Yes.
Sort of not exactly directing them, because what you're saying is just, that's for me. It's really
Mm-hmm.
for me, but it's also at the same moment for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's beautiful. So when I'm doing it for me and I'm moving the underwater currents in my own body, in my own experience, then the more I breathe with this, I want to say the more transparent I become, the less defended I am, the less barrier there is at the edge of me, because I don't need to be protected from the outside because I'm protecting myself from the inside. So I use this example of with in war, in warrior, like if we go back to older images of war, it's like I can build a wall around me that will keep out the dangers, but then the price of that is I have to continuously guard the wall. I have to constantly go around and make sure it's still together and nobody's gotten through and all the doors are still locked and everything. And in the other image that I prefer is, rather than building and maintaining walls to keep myself safe, I want to turn on the sun, the solar light, the solar heat, the magnetism in me. I want that power to radiate out of me so strongly that no danger can come near, because nobody's going to pick on me because I'm not a victim. I'm not weak. I'm not distracted. I'm clear and present and calm. So you have like the big guy who's walking down the street that nobody messes with because they feel like, whoa, he's right there and he's going to respond and he's not going to waste any time. So that's more the image that I like to use for myself for protection and safety. Because with trauma, we often believe, oh, I have to manage and control the outside world so that none of these horrible things will happen to me, or so that I won't be triggered and have to feel those things. And that's a journey that people go on for however long they go on it. And gradually, like what I want to introduce to people is the possibility of, yes, you can do that. And you can also build up your own strength. You can build up your own presence and power in your body. You can open your heart and your intuition so that you feel far away from you, 600 meters or 2 years into the future or whatever. And you can take care of yourself by being big rather than by being small and trying to like keep everybody away.
Mhm. So I'm getting two images of, one is me lonely behind the wall, separate from the world that's against me.
Yes.
And here it's sort of diffusing boundaries. I sort of
Mm-hmm.
don't walls,
Mm-hmm.
diffusing walls. And here you're really taking us into a journey where you're one with the world, kind of, with this light is penetrating and there is no apparent
Yes.
separateness.
Yes. That's very true and accurate to my experience. And the image that I like to use is the sun. It's radiating so much energy that everyone finds their distance from it. Like if I'm radiating so much love, people who don't want love, don't want to deal with love, stay far away from me. if I'm radiating so much clarity and confidence, people who want to take advantage of me don't come near. So it's sort of like that. It's a oneness. It's a no separation from the world. And it's also a focus of power and love and intention that radiates out and kind of makes everybody else find their right relationship with me.
Recently, we've been playing with this idea to find your space and find your space in the world.
Nice. Yes. Yes.
Okay, and what can we make if we couple up? And the first question is, and it all comes from me taking 3 breaths every now and then.
Yes.
As often as possible. So the simplest solution.
Yes. Simple solution that you can do in almost any situation. Like if somebody has their hands in your throat, you might not be able to do it. But other than that, even if you're in jail, you can still take 3 deep breaths.
Totally, I tried.
Even if your husband is yelling at you, you can still take 3 deep breaths.
Yeah.
Even if the bombs are going off. Even if someone just said you lost your job, you can still take 3 deep breaths.
And some sound on the exhale.
Yes, yes.
And now I become curious. What happens if we have a number of such suns? What's the potential?
Like the 50 alchemists?
Yeah. But let's start with.
Yeah. We don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah, that's actually quite practical for me right now. And I guess for a lot of people is that, okay, there is bubbling, there's coming together into circles. It feels almost like a necessity when the old world and the old structures are crumbling.
Yes.
And it's kind of scary. And it's kind of hard to find this center and stand up on my own. But and I feel this pull, and how do we come together? How do we like? I see circles and communities, like mushrooms after the rain. They're.
Yep.
Do you feel what do you feel this current awful situation can bring us as hope?
Well, I hope. I don't know about hope. I just know about mushrooms after the rain. So, yes, I believe one of the things that's happening is in times of danger, in chaos, threat, people come together. And it's very interesting to watch here in the US because everyone has become such separate little atoms bouncing around in their own little worlds and very individualistic and very like, oh, my life and I'm in charge of blah, 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 blah. And then like an earthquake comes or a wildfire comes, and all of a sudden, like on an animal level, I can't survive this alone. Like I have to work with other people. Like we have to come in and sort through the rubble and find the missing people, and we have to find food. And these things are not, they're not going to be very successful if we are individual cowboys running around trying to shoot things up and take stuff. Like what will survive is communities. And so we're remembering our original nature, our original animal nature, as we are group animals. we like, if you look at the apes, like they live in groups. And so this is the way that we're wired up, the way that our evolution has created us to put our bodies and our hearts and our minds together in order to thrive, in order to survive. And so what I experience is that when the body is in trauma, it's sometimes literally shut down. Like a lot of the operating systems in the body shut down because all of the attention and energy needs to go to uh, facing the threat and surviving. So in a traumatic situation like I imagine that you're in, and to greater and lesser degrees in different parts of Russia and Ukraine, the pressure and the threat is intense. And it's sort of, I see it almost in a chemistry kind of way. Like you turn up the heat and the atoms start bonding with each other. And they don't know what to do because they've never done that before. They've never been in these new molecules or formations, but that's just sort of like, I felt magnetically attracted to do this. So if all of those individuals are in trauma, the amount of circulation and connection and cooperation that can happen is vastly limited. Like I am barely functional to take care of myself. I'm not in my creativity. I'm not in my collaboration. I'm not in my trust. And so we might all be together in the same room, but we're not making use of the genius of the group. We're not like everybody's coming together and bringing their gifts, and something greater than the sum of the parts is available. So all these like traumatized people huddling together for safety is one part of the experience. And in that, you'll get more and more arguments, fighting, power plays. Like somebody, like people want resolution. And the first resolution that you want is, I want everybody to think like me. I want everybody to see what I see. I want everybody to do it the way that I would do it. And when we're in survival, that fighting urge is strong and hard to resist. So if we can come together, a different scenario over here, if we can come together and take 3 deep breaths and come back into, hold a second, I gotta move my legs. I'm just gonna shake the screen. If we come together and I am first taking breath into my own body and coming into my own center, my own balance, my own sovereignty, my own calm and clarity, then in these groups, I have something that I can interact and contribute in a different kind of a way. So if you have 50 sons that are all doing that together, then the possibility for collaboration is unimaginable, really. Even if you have 2 people, like a lot of my work in this life has been with couples, and like what can happen when a couple is undefended with each other and working on the same team, like fully committed and knowing each other, using each other's gifts, and relying on each other in some interdependent ways, then there's magic that can happen from that. And what we're moving into with these greater and greater stresses and dangers from the outside is the groupings of people will get larger and larger. Like 2 people or a family trying to survive, trying to get on the train and get to Poland is harder. It's when you're acting alone, when you're acting individually or in a couple, you don't have as much power or strength as if you have. I saw something, 250,000 Palestinians went into a place in Jerusalem and to do their ceremony. And it was like there were so many of them, they were unstoppable. Like the police couldn't stop them. There were just like 250,000 people all came at once, and it was just like a flood of humanity. And so something new happened. And we're talking about an in-between space where it might be 20 people, 50 people, 5 people, I don't know. But I do know that when I'm out of my sympathetic nervous system and in my parasympathetic, and I am able to listen and really take you in and be creative and brainstorm and not take things so personally and all that, much more will happen than if I'm like, oh.
And here comes another question for you.
Okay.
How do I invite my partner into this weird breathing with sound thingy?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do I invite my friend? Is it okay? How do you do it?
First of all, we have to model it. Like I have to be willing to show you how it works, to be so you can see this is how we're monkeys that learn by imitation. So if nobody's doing it, nobody's going to learn it. If I'm just talking about it, nobody's going to learn it. If I start doing it, people are going to get curious. People are going to get curious, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? That's weird. And it's like, yeah, it looks weird to you, but it feels really good. And like, this is what I do. And I just start talking about it. And some of them wander away because they're not interested. And some of them get interested and curious. And then we start to have a sharing, a communion about it. And some will try it. If I want you to do something, then I'm trying to manipulate you, and you're going to respond defensively to that. So I'm not trying to get into you, into your head, into your space. I'm not trying to like tell you how to do things. I'm just showing you what I'm doing for me. And eventually, people who are running around, stress people get tired, and eventually they drop, and eventually they're available at a slower pace. Sometimes I make it challenging, like for men in particular. It's like, you can't do this. You think you're so good with meditation, you can't do this. Healing, you're an amateur.
Here's the hook. Here's the hook.
Yeah. But the way not to do it is to nag. Not like that's not going to work at all. Then it's like, why would I want to go deeper into your experience? You're an unhappy bitch right now. But if you're happy and your eyes are lit up while I'm or whatever, and I notice that it doesn't change you, that you don't get sucked into my drama, then I get curious.
I told you that's the wisest minute. So thank you, David, for sharing it with us. And before I turn off and say goodbye, I just want to say that we have recorded a couple of practices for people who are in stress and traumatized. And so you can just go in the links below. I will show them so that you can turn on the audio and just take some time to rebalance yourself.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I like some of the things that we recorded last time are more detailed about how to get into the body and shift the nervous system with like simple movements of the eye or the ears or the hands. It's like what we're doing with the breath is sort of like bringing us back to the core of the body, the center of the body. And there's all these things that happen on the extremity too that can be addressed and met and released so that we're not in the power of trauma, where we regain our own bodies and our own presence back. So thanks for recording that last time. And yeah, we can do more of that sometime if you like.
Yeah, so we have the practice of coming into the core of the body with taking breaths, sound, and touch into the different centers.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the peripheral movement with those muscles that are getting numb in stress to kind of
Mm-hmm.
remove them. And we also have a practice of inviting people into breathing together to really
Mm-hmm.
take off the guard down and
Mm-hmm.
let the creativity flow.
Yeah. So even the practice that we did today in this session are you can do this with somebody else, just sitting down together, just breathing together. What happens is because we are social animals, there's certain permissions that happen when others of our kind are doing a certain behavior. So you know this from working in groups that me breathing on my own, it's like I can go so far. Me breathing with one other person, we kind of like encourage each other to go deeper or to feel more. And when you have like a circle or a room or a community of people, even a family or a larger group, and everyone's breathing together and sounding together, there we create what I call a permission field, where it's like, oh, you mean it's okay to be that loud? Oh, it's okay to breathe that deep. It's okay to be that weird. And then it becomes like a more fun game even to stay with the practice and connect with ourselves. And automatically what happens as we connect with ourselves is we become available to connect with other people because it's the same receptors that are opening up.
Yeah, and we sort of get into this synchronized flow
Mm-hmm.
that kind
Nice.
of
Yes.
starts moving us.
Yes. I love that part. I love that part. And that's when we create, this can be like in lovemaking, when you create a synchronized flow. It can be in groups where you create a synchronized flow. This is like humans have been doing this forever. Like some of our earliest things that we do are tribal drumming, music, dancing, singing, like groups of people doing this together. And why are they doing this together? Because we want to come into sync. We want to be in the same rhythm. We want to feel our connection and our oneness. So
Yeah.
those are all great. That's why sports stadiums are popular and concerts are popular and ecstatic dances are popular. All these things bring us into synchronized rhythm. So in these times when it's harder or more dangerous to gather 5,000 people together for a drumming circle, it's possible to do something with a small number of people in a room. And we can get that feeling. And when I'm in that synchronized oneness, that wholeness with myself in my own body, then I'm not separate from the universe and I'm not separate from you. So the number of people involved is not really crucial. It's like we can feel it with one other person. It's just like finding the wave, finding the flow, finding the I like to call it the underlying truth of our connection.
Hmm.
Like it's already here. We're already connected.
Finding their underlying truth of our connection. That's already. Yeah. Yes, that's a perfect.